Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and here on YouTube you know me as what? Epic Fantasy, that's right. It is 12 o'clock noontime on a Friday, and what does that mean? Friday fish and chips. Today I am going to talk about, in this vlog, I'm going to talk about something I call the sizzle and the steak. And I'm going to start out with a story about bread, and I'm going to end this vlog with another story, a different story about bread. And even though there's no sizzle nor steak in bread, stay tuned, you'll see. Alright, so I said this vlog was going to be about something called the sizzle and the steak. And I'm going to tell you a story about what I mean by that, because it's very relevant to you, to me, and to this new world that we live in. Many years ago, I was the co-owner of a bread store. Yeah, a bread store. We sold bread. And it was actually quite wonderful. I really actually loved it. There was a certain simplistic beauty in bread. It's like one of the, well, maybe not the whole world, but it's one of the major foods of the world. You know, and we had a lot of different types of bread. And over the course of time, we were expanding the store to offer other items, a lot of other different kinds of things. It was almost like turning into because we'd get these deals on things from distributors, and it was almost turning into like a convenience store with a lot of stuff, you know, milk and you know, soda and beverages and all, just a lot of stuff. And my partner, who had a lot of connections, he managed to wrangle a meeting with a guy. And this guy, he was a very wealthy guy, and he owned a chain of convenience stores. Like, I think he owned, I can't remember now, it's been a long time, but I think the number was like 7 of them. Could have been more, I forget. There's a lot of them. So he knew his stuff. He knew how to run a convenience store business, you know. And I was looking forward to him coming in. He was going to come in and check out our store and look around and meet me and discuss things and give us some pointers and help. And then he did. Nice guy. But he had this saying, and I'll remember it to this day. And he used it a lot. He said it many times during our meeting, you know, looking around at different things. He said, you got to sell the sizzle and not the steak. And as he walked around the store and we looked at different things, he analyzed things like, you know, floor space and rack space and end caps and how to sell the stuff with more sugar and less nutrition because there's a higher profit level in it all, you know. And the whole thing, I was horrified because he had all these really effective psychological techniques for getting people, like, you know, you put candies on the bottom shelf near the counter so children could see them and add them to the list. Ma, get me this candy, you know, and, you know, all kinds of psychological tricks like that and all these things. And he constantly was saying, you know, you got to sell the sizzle and not the steak. And it's exactly opposite to how I feel, and exactly opposite to how I lead my life and how I build my website and my YouTube channel. You know, I firmly believe in the steak and not the sizzle, because, you know, there's nothing in sizzle. A sizzle is empty, just like in, you know, food. It's sugar. You know, there's nutrition in steak. And so I guess the sizzle on the steak is you take a steak and you throw it on the grill and it sizzles. And the sizzle attracts people and they all look ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh. And we get a lot of that in today's world, you know. It's like everything is sizzle. Because you have to attract eyeballs and you have to attract web visitors and you have to attract people and you got to get attention. And, you know, I don't do that. I refuse to sizzle. Now, I mean, every once in a while I'll do a kind of a fun project that shoots or does something, and just for fun. But, you know, I don't, my stuff is, I try to make steak, you know. I don't want to do sizzle. And I hope you get that feeling. If you follow my stuff, you probably get that feeling that I shoot for substance, you know. So let me tell you the story. That's the story of the bread. That's the bread story, the first bread story. And so you should think about that, and I'll tell you another bread story. That's kind of funny. But you think about that in your life, and think about getting more steak.
Is that beautiful or what?
And not so much caring about the sizzle, even though the sizzle is attractive, and everyone's ooh and ah, because we all spend, maybe me all, I don't know about all of us, but I regrettably spend time doing things online, and after a session, I come to realize that I don't really remember half anything. It's all like empty, you know. I reflect back on an internet session and think, boy, did I really gain anything of substance there? Do I even remember any of that stuff? I just clicked from thing to thing, and, you know, I just little blurbs of this and that, and little oohs and ahs and stuff like that, and I ended up with no steak, you know. So I shoot to give you steak, as much steak as possible, and chances are pretty good that my YouTube channel, my website, suffer from lack of sizzle, you know. But that's okay. That's a value, that something for me personally that I want and that I do, and I will continue to do that. So so look for that in your life too, and be cognizant of that. Be cognizant of. There's a lot of sizzle out there, and you have to kind of try to. You should, in my opinion, try to filter a lot of that sizzle out, and look for the steak, the stuff of real substance. So let me. This is a short blog. I should probably edit the video. Let me end with another story about bread. You know, I was thinking about the bread store, and I was like, wow, you know, it's been such a long time since that bread store. I'll end you with another story about bread, because it also ties into our sizzle and steak. About, I guess, maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. For some reason, I was tinkering around with different breads, and I had a bread machine. I was making breads, and, you know, other people in my family were making bread in bread machine. It was a lot of fun, you know. Bread machine is a beautiful thing. And I got this thing in my head about breads, and what's the best bread in the world, you know? I was like, you know, it'd be kind of just cool to try the best bread in the world. I forget the chain of thought that brought me to that. So I did a little research, and I came up with, pretty much hands down, there's a chain of little bakeries in France that make what's considered generally to be the best bread in the world. It's Paulaine Bakery, P-O-L-A-I-N-E. I'll put a link, so if you guys want to check out the website. And you can actually have it overnighted from France to America. To have the bread overnighted, you know. And so I was talking to my family about it. I was like, hey, next time we have a family gathering, I'm going to bring a loaf of the best bread in the world. You know, it's just kind of be fun. Let's do that. It's just, I don't know, it's just, there's a beautiful irony in that, you know? Like, it's a simple thing. Bread is such a simple thing. And I kind of latched into the idea. So we planned a family gathering, and I ordered my bread, and it was like, now I can't quote the prices exactly, but it was like, you know, $3 or $4 for the actual loaf of bread. You know, it's a beautiful bread, and it was like $60 to overnight it, which is I mean, well, we could get into that, but I was like, I don't care. That'll be wonderful. So I did that, and then so the bread would arrive the day before our family gathering, and then the dates changed on the family gathering. They ended up, because of everybody this and that, and people couldn't, they ended up being 3 days later. So my bread arrives and has to sit in the box for an extra 3 days. I was like, uh-oh, this is not good. I mean, it's bread. And France has very strict rules about bread. They can, like, there's no preservatives or anything. So you get the world's best bread, in quotation marks, I guess. You got to eat it that day. At the latest, you got to eat it the next day. Because this is what happened 3 days later when we opened up the bread and tried to cut it. It was hard as a rock. We still tried to eat it, and we cut it and tried to eat it and toasted some of it and spread various. We had this wonderful layout of different spreads and jams to go on it and stuff so we could enjoy the bread, And it was, yeah. So, I totally ruined that. And I was like, well, I tried, but the timing just wasn't right. It just wasn't meant to be. But here's my real point here is that when it comes to the Pauline bread, the world's greatest bread, I tried to sell the Sizzle. I really did it. When reflecting back on that I made a big deal out of it. I was like, isn't that kind of cool? It's so, I don't know, cosmopolitan. Is that the right word? To have overnighted a loaf of bread from a little bakery in France that's supposedly the best bread in the world, and then we'll enjoy it. Let's have, wine and cheese too, right? And so I was selling the Sizzle, right? There you go. So it's a lesson to me to not sell the Sizzle. Again, another lesson to not sell the Sizzle. Well, anyway, so what I should have done was when that bread came in, I should have called family members and said, hey, let's have the bread right now. Let's eat it now and just enjoy it and not make a thing of it. Let's keep the simplicity of bread and just break bread together, without it being a big thing about me bragging about, hey, I'm going to do this quirky thing that's, and I'm bragging about how, it only costs like $4 for a little bread, but it cost me $60 to FedEx it overnight, Wow, hey, look at that. Look at the sizzle in that, right? So I should rightfully be ashamed of myself for that. I mean, not really. I mean, it's just, I don't know, there just is something beautiful about the whole thing. And there's something beautiful about the fact that it was a grandiose failure, too. Good lesson to me in bread humility, and in not selling Sizzle. So, all right, that's it. I'm going to have to edit this video. The fish and chips might be cut up a little bit because my talk is a little bit short. But one more thing is, let me just reinforce the situation to say, in your life, I recommend you be sensitive to Sizzle and steak and lean yourself towards the steak side. Because there's something real in steak and there's nothing real in Sizzle. It's just... you can't, there's nothing, there's no calories in it, there's just the ooh in the eye and Sizzle. And when you're searching for things on the internet, be cautious and be aware that there's an awful lot of Sizzle out there, me personally, I stay away from the Sizzle. All right, so thanks for listening to my vlog. I think this is vlog episode 8, and I'm enjoying it. And what do I have coming up? I got a bunch of stuff coming up. I got all kinds of projects coming up. I got some that are done and just needing to be posted. If you haven't checked out my website, check out my website. It'd be wonderful. There's a lot of stuff there that's not on my YouTube channel. If you like browsing websites, that's a good option for you. That's it. Thanks. I'll see you again. In between, I probably have 2 videos coming in between here, but otherwise, I will see you for fish and chips. Join me for fish and chips next Friday at 12. Thank you.